Okay, thanks for coming and being together, all of us. I think I confused some people yesterday at that workshop by talking so much about children. I'm willing to bet some people I'm willing to bet different people heard different things. But that's okay. So if you have any questions or if you feel confused, I didn't say anything confusing, but I'm sure some people are confused. So don't hesitate. We don't want you walking around confused. Needlessly. Some confusion you're going to have. That's a long-term project. Generally, you're very confused about being so identified with this life. That's a long-term confusion that spiritual life addresses. The basic confusion is that on many levels and from many directions, you believe very fervently and feel very strongly that this life has to be kept going no matter what. Even though you know that you're going to die. Even though if you're over 18 or over 20, something around there, 17, 18, 20, you know for sure that death exists and you're going to die for sure. So it's a very, very funny situation that you know this life isn't going to last, but you're very committed to making it last. Now, I'm not talking about normal survival instinct. That's wired in. That's just because you're an alive creature. Every creature has it. I'm talking about the idea, the feeling that this life is all important, that this is all you've got, and that it should be kept going at all costs. I'm not saying don't fight for your life. Don't misunderstand this either. I'm not saying don't fight for your life. I'm saying there's an attitude we have that, given the fact of death and given how short life is really a silly attitude. That it's so important that we continue as we are. And because of that, why are we talking about it? Because out of that come all the problems. Out of being so concerned with this life as you see yourself now, or experience yourself now, and what you imagine, and that's all it is, what you imagine the rest of this life will be. Because of that strong conviction and very powerful feeling that that is to be the single most important thing. Something else can be very important, but it's second on the list. First is this life should continue every second possible, and you should be how you are. You should be you every second possible without a lot of variation. Too much variation and you're not you. And it's really, really not necessary. What it does is it screws you in, screws you down to the floor, so that you have a very limited idea of life, a very limited idea of yourself, and a very limited idea of what you're doing here and what's possible here. So spiritual life is simply all about switching that concern, that allegiance, that focus beyond this life. Understanding that when you die, you're not gone. First, you have to accept that. If you don't know it for yourself, then you have to either find it out somehow, but you can't wait forever. At some point, you're going to have to accept it, or else be very clear with yourself that you do believe that when this life ends, when this physical life ends, you're done, you're gone, there's no more anything. Oblivion. It's one or the other. Either you're sure about that, or sure enough, or you're not sure, so you tend in that direction. Or you know for fact that, either you know for fact, or you take the word of somebody who you feel knows for fact that life doesn't end with death. You don't end when this life ends. So spirituality includes, and one of the biggest aspects is simply shifting your attention, your focus, your sense of importance off of this few years as you on this little planet, and having the bigger view that if you do continue, obviously, just to be concerned only with this doesn't address that. And you can address that. And you can, of course, what we recommend is that you recognize that eternity is real, infinity is real. You're in it now. And that you change your view toward what's eternal instead of what's 60 years, 80 years, if you're lucky, 100 years. And no matter how many years it is, it's over very fast in experience. But that's the problem. That's one of the major base problems, that we really believe in this lifetime and this feeling of I'm me so strongly that it's hard to make that shift. Most of the time, we don't know for sure about this eternity business. We haven't heard from somebody we trust enough yet. All religions talk about it. All religious venues talk about it. All spiritual traditions talk about it. Talk about this life versus beyond this life. Many different conceptualizations, many different characterizations, many different versions, each one saying, we're sure that this is it. And the only way to be sure is if you've been there. And some people have been there. So you gotta kind of, make your bet. Otherwise, you're straddling too much. Otherwise, you got one foot on each pony, and that doesn't work out real well. Now, it's not necessarily good news to everybody to actually recognize that you don't end at death, because you don't know what's next. And if you see life as easy and pleasant, then you have nothing to worry about. Because what's next is today's a continuation of yesterday. But if life to you has difficulties, fears, sufferings, overwhelming bad feelings, then you have something to worry about, realistically. Because what you experience in time is actually happening in eternity. And therefore, what you're experiencing in so-called life is not going to be very different when you die. Everything is a continuation. When you were little, you weren't the same size you are now. You didn't have all the experiences you've had since. You were different in certain ways, very obvious ways. But when you think about when you were that kid, do you really feel that different? As far as consciousness goes, as far as the person feeling themselves as a person, you pretty much felt the same as 8, as 18, at 28, 38, 88. It doesn't change a whole lot. There is a feeling of consistency. There is a feeling of, that was me, and this is me, and 20 years from now, if I'm still here, that'll be me. You don't really question that. You don't really, nobody really argues that. No, I felt completely different when I was 10 and when I was 20, and now that I'm 60, it feels completely different. Nobody says that. Maybe a few crazy people, but they're lying. They're just trying to make trouble. So if you can recognize that one of the chief aspects of your experience as a living human being is a certain consistency, and you can't remember what came before, so you don't know if it was consistent beforehand somehow. But if the entire experience, from as long as you can remember, has had a certain consistency, why would you assume that just because you died, that changes? Something radically different goes on and you experience something radically, can't even describe how different it is from this. So it's not rational. It's not a logical idea, but those who have been on the other side, not near-death experiences, those who, for mystical or religious or spiritual reasons, have been given the experience of actually being there in that after death occurs state, pretty much agree that that consistency is there. Pretty much agree that whatever was dominant in you in life as a living person with a body, without a body, doesn't radically change, at least initially. So for some, that sounds like good news. For some, that sounds like bad news. But you have the opportunity of this lifetime to change bad feeling into good feeling and difficulties into joys. And it doesn't so much matter in these few decades you get, but it does matter in terms of moving into the eternal part, where that becomes as much in your awareness as now the weather and the rooms and the houses and the people are in your awareness. When you die, you don't go anywhere. Everything else goes away. I've said this 1,000 times. You're here right now. It doesn't matter if you're dead or alive right now. You're just as much dead as you are alive. And you're just as much alive as you are dead. Because the eternal part, the infinite part, doesn't die, doesn't get born, doesn't move, doesn't change. And all that happens when you die, although there's some dramatics that get experienced due to conditioning and due to social ideas and social learning and the notions that we have, and also the way the nervous system is wired and the way our brains work and the way the mind works and the way the body works. All of it gives you a certain experience, just like you're having one now. But right now, everything that is real is going on. And when everything falls away, which is called death, human being's death, when everything goes away, your body goes away, your eyes goes away, your feet go away, your friends go away, your memories go away. Everything goes away, except you. So nothing has changed concerning you. Everything has changed concerning your perception and your experiencing, but you yourself, nothing has changed. Stays very consistent. So if the you as a human being, not a dead person, has nasty thoughts and predominantly and is nervous all the time and suspicious and thinks primarily that life is really hard and bad things tend to happen, guess what? That'll be your attitude when there's no body, no friends, no houses, no sky, just you in this moment. So that's not fun, because when you don't have a body and there's nowhere to go, then you're stuck with that. You can't do anything with it, because then it's pure mind. It's just your sense. It's your thought, it's your feeling, it's your sense of things. When you have a body, when you're an alive human being, when you're on this planet, or actually any planet, if that's the situation, fairly negative, fairly unpleasant, you can do stuff to change it. The stuff you do involves having a body, having a nervous system, having a ability to carry out, decide on and carry out actions, make relationships, go here, go there, study this, learn that. You can't do that when you're dead. There are no books. There aren't any spiritual centers or mosques or temples or churches to go to. Those are all earthly things. Those are all man-made things. And you can't focus your attention. Everything just is as it is, and whatever happens, just happens. Here, with a body alive, it isn't like that. If something happens and you don't like it, you can walk away. When you don't have legs, or a body, or a brain, or a nervous system, you can't walk away. If what's going on isn't likable to you, tough titties. You're going to have to bear it. You're going to have to endure it. You're going to have to wait it out, whatever it is, because you can't, the simplest way to say it is, you can't turn around. You can't turn your back on it. You can't shut it off, because you have no apparatus to do it with. Now you're just awareness. You have a sense of yourself, and all that's going on is awareness. Nothing else is going on. Well, let me not misspeak. Things are going on, but you can't do anything with them or about them except be aware of them. You can't move toward them. You can't move away from them. If you don't like it, you can't get in the car and go to the other part of town. You can't even close your eyes. You don't have any eyes. So it's not a fun situation because of that consistency. So if consistently life for you is an experience of difficulty, then after death, you'll continue to experience difficulty. Not exactly in the same form, but we're talking about themes. If life is generally nice, then after death, you'll feel things are generally nice. It's all your interpretation. It is right now. So why would you think it would be different just because nobody is there? It's the same. That's the consistency. You get to say how it is for you. And everybody knows, because everybody's smart enough to know that anything that's bad, you can probably find a way to change it if you're willing to do whatever it takes. And anything that's unpleasant, and you know it's because you have a certain tendency or you have a approach that tends to cause a feeling of unpleasantness for you. Everybody knows you can probably do something about that. You're not a helpless victim. But it can only be done here. It can't be done after death. After death is exactly like being asleep and dreaming. Actually, this I haven't said before, so I'll give you a new wrinkle. Just like if you're having an unpleasant dream, and many people have had the experience once or twice, or a few times, or many times even, but of being able at certain times to control their dreams, or they suddenly realize they're in a dream. And, you know, if you're like most men, you immediately take your clothes off and start jumping on people. Because you know that they know police in a dream. There's no bad consequences possible because it's a dream. You know, you're in control now. It took them a while to process it. But that's not your every night experience. If it was, you'd never get out of bed. That's not your every night experience. If you ever had this, some people have never had that experience, but many people have. But you don't have it every night. Most of the time, when you dream, you're not aware it's a dream. It's as real as when you're awake in the middle of the day. And when you wake up, when you're in a different state called being awake versus being asleep, you can not always, but often remember, oh, I had that dream. But while you're having the dream, it's no less real than when you're not asleep. With the one difference that you're not really deciding or acting like you do in the waking state. In the waking state, you make conscious decisions. You weigh out the pros, the cons, the consequences, the possibilities, and you feel like you have some rational way to decide and to act. In a dream, you don't feel like that as much, right? Everybody dreams. So it's more weird, it's more magical, it's more like a cartoon, it's more things happen that can't happen in daily life, and you don't have the same sense of control. You don't have the same sense of being able to participate in the show at will. It's more like watching TV or a movie, or it's kind of just whatever it is, and you happen to be in it. You're a character on the screen. Well, guess what? If you've ever been asleep and had a dream and remembered that dream, you know a lot about what death is like. Because that's what happens when you die. Essentially, you dream. Essentially, you have a continuation experience, but without the sense of control or being able to improve or change that you get to have here. So this is your opportunity to make it good for yourself so that when you are in the sleep of death, after this life, which is not the end, you don't stay dead forever, but just like you don't live forever, but you'll be in that state just like now you're in the living state. When you're done, you'll be in the dead state for however long that lasts, just like you're here for however long that lasts. And the nature of what this is like for you will provide the text of the after-death dream state. Okay? It's not hard to understand if you've ever been asleep and had a dream. Now we could expand this and, talk for days, if not, actually for months, about the other aspect that this touches, but we're only talking about the death part. The other aspect is the daily waking life is no less a dream than at night or after death. It's all a play of consciousness. This isn't any more real than what's going to happen when you're dead. That's just as real. It's all real and it's all not real if you think of it any way you want. But for my money, I'm practical. I want it to be good. Everybody wants their life to be good, but I want my death to be good, but I also want your dead state to be good, because the eternal is forever. So why are you so worried about this life? My attitude is why, and I encourage you to have a similar attitude. Why spend so much time and effort on this life when eternity is the real context? And you're going to be there in one form or another. If there's a way to make that better, isn't that smarter? You can make this 80 years as good as possible, but that's the whole focus. It doesn't extend beyond that. Or the focus can be the next 80 trillion years if you want to put time frames on it, but eternity doesn't have any time frames. Remember, eternity doesn't mean endless time. Eternity means beyond time. Time is not involved. So, to me, it's just logical, rational, reasonable, intelligent. I have the one advantage that I know eternity is real, and I know you don't end at death. I know it is fact, not a theory or a hope. So, to me, it just makes utter complete sense to not be too worried about this 60, 70, 80 years. And since there are many ways that you influence what happens in the more eternal part, that's where, if you ask me, the smart money puts its attention on, and its intention. Your intention should be to have a good eternity, not just a good life. And of course you don't get just one chance. The whole idea that you get one life, and then, the fundamentalist religious view, you get one life and then you get graded. And that grade is either you're happy and up in the sky forever, or you're the most miserable possible and you're burning forever down somewhere. Come on. It makes no sense even in a child's mind. It's tapping into something, but of course that can't be a right idea about what life and death are all about. You get to take a test once, and that determines everything. If that's true, then we're all screwed. But of course, that's just fear thinking. But there's a truth in it. If it's really, you get to say, you get to create your experience, you get to say what's right, what's good, what's bad, what feels good, what doesn't feel good. You do create your hell, and you do create your heaven, and you have a say about it. You can live your life, run your life, make your decisions, act in such a way, relate in such a way that life is very hellish. And of course the opposite. You could, if you start there, you can make improvements and change yourself and be a better person, and life can be much more heavenly. So it's not a completely ridiculous notion, heaven and hell, but it's not about a place. It's about how you experience things. And you create that by how you live, how you think, where you put your attention, what you do. That makes your reality. If what I do all day is beat my head against the wall, I'm creating a certain reality. If instead I go to work, that's a certain reality I'm creating. And if instead I spend every day at the beach, that's another reality I'm creating. I'm creating my experience, right? Those are 3 different experiences. I'm choosing which ones to give myself every day. And how is that not creating your reality? You don't have to get complicated about this. So, if I live as a terrible person, and I'm always there, so if I'm yelling at everybody and I'm stealing every chance I get and I'm treating people badly, then what's my experience? What reality have I created? One where everybody is mad at me or afraid of me and I don't feel that good. Obviously, you can't feel good that way. No way. For a little while, you can think you're getting away with something, but eventually you'll start to feel bad, and that's your reality. You created it. And the opposite. I can be a wonderful person who's generous and kind and nice, and most people are happy to see me. And, we're talking in real, simple generalities, but it's just to make the point. And then I have a different reality, and I get to live in that. So that's the dream I've made. The dream doesn't make itself. The dreamer makes it. You make it. And of course, logically, it is logical, oddly enough. Since life and existence doesn't care about logic, it's odd to me that this part is very logical, that your after-death experience is going to be a continuation of your lifetime experience. And you can sum it up. You can sum it up right now, up until this moment. But everybody who dies conscious and awake has and knowing this, because if you have all your faculties, you tend to know this is my last minute. And if you're in that situation, you do tend to sum it up. You kind of say to yourself, overall, it was pretty good. Or overall, I'm not sad about it. Or, more tragically, obviously, I fucked up. Or, it wasn't so good. Or I wish I had done different. But you don't have to wait till you know it's your last moment. Not everybody knows when their last moment is. When it is the last moment. But there will be a last moment, that's for sure. But you don't have to wait till then. Right now, you can sum it up. How many years have you lived? More than a few. Right now. If it was going to end right now, you could say, and it's good to think this way, just to decide right now, at least once, so far. More on the side of it's pretty good, more on the side of not so good. And whatever you decide, that's your true attitude about life. It tells you your true feeling. And whatever is your true feeling will be the base of what you experience after death, because the dream continues. Makes sense, huh? I'm not asking you to accept every bit of it, or even believe me, or even accept any of it. I'm just telling you what I know for sure. And either it's meaningful to you or it's not, and either you can use it or not, and either it helps you move forward spiritually or not. But all of that's up to you. I don't tell you what I think, I tell you what I know. So, and then I strongly encourage you to change your view from being concerned with a few years to being concerned with what's beyond time and beyond space, because there's no avoiding that. You're there now. You're just having a experience of it that isn't clear to you. The eternal part, the infinite part aren't clear because time and space are part of your current experience. And you can't see above that yet, usually. But once you've had experiences that show you for sure and for real that you do continue, and once you've had experiences that make it impossible for you to say, well, I don't know about this eternity thing or this infinity thing, you know that's real too, then you are in a position where you've kind of had your head above water and you know there's something much bigger and more significant that you have to put your attention on, simply logically, simply because it's going on and it isn't going to stop when you die. So that changes the whole perspective. That changes the whole position of what's this all about. Because it's all about not just how it feels right now. Now, for some people that makes them feel relieved, and for other people it makes them feel more worried. So it's not one thing. It's for you to deal with, for you to determine. But at the very least, I'm always strongly encouraging you to not get screwed in like we all start, because we're all trained to believe certain things, whatever they are. And it's like screwing it in that these are the only possibilities. And most of those ideas aren't accurate to reality to begin with. So when you have better information, or you've had a few experiences of your own that show you, then you know that you'd be a fool not to put some effort into changing your focus. Some people call that moving toward God. Some people call that wanting truth. Some people call that interested in finding reality. Whatever you call it, it's the right direction. Okay, that's enough, I guess, from me. What do you want to talk about or add, or questions, comments, other topics? It's all yours.
So is it the ego?
How we do this is we have you come up, and then the people who are in other places, there's a microphone here. So don't be shy. She'll escort you. Come with her. Go with her. Go with her. Well, he can sit any way he wants. He doesn't have to sit like that. But the cushion is for you to be comfortable. And don't worry about the microphone. It's set to pick up. But we want you to talk loud enough that the people in the room can hear you good. But they will hear you for sure because there's a mic. Okay.
So is it the ego that gets carried into the afterlife? Because you're saying the impressions are still there?
No. You. Nothing is carried. Nothing is carried because you're in the afterlife now. This is the life. This is the afterlife. There's only this. But the experience changes. Because right now you have a body, right now you have a nervous system, right now you have some set of experiences you're calling the past, some set of experiences you hope are ahead that you're calling the future, because this is what you've been taught is the map. And the actuality is none of that's going on. What's going on is this right here, right now. It just keeps changing. The same way as you can have a big monitor like this and you can play different things. You can play a cartoon, that's one thing. You can play a movie, that's a change, it's something else. You can play a porno, that's completely different. So the scene keeps changing, but the monitor doesn't change. The monitor doesn't do a thing, it's just there. You're the monitor. You're there. When you die, the scene changes, but you don't change. So you don't take anything with you. You haven't gone anywhere. When you're here, because of all the things going on, different experiences that happen because you have a bodily experience, you have a mental experience, you have an emotional experience, you get trained, you have parents, you have friends, you have teachers, all these things happen, and you get a certain conditioning, certain inculcation. You get taught certain things. You don't have a choice about it. You have to listen, and you're so young, and you can't it's too early to make up your own mind. You can't really argue. So some of those things you deeply accept, and and if you're like most people, conventional-minded people, not people who would come to a meeting like this, so not you, not me, not them, but majority of people would never question any of that. What they learned when they were 6 months and 1 year and 2 years and 3 years, they basically think that that's reality. You hear that? Oh, that's outside. I heard something, Val. They know you already? Is the door open or closed?
It's open.
Oh, let's close it. It really sounds like it's coming from the monitor. To me. Okay. So the first thing to get a sense of is that ego gets formed as a product of all this stuff here. You're taught all these things, you're given all these ideas, you're given all these roadmaps. The way that gets organized, the name for that is ego. So the idea that it goes with you isn't really the way to understand it. Your awareness, and what goes with you is whatever understanding you've garnered that's meaningful. So ego gives you a certain awareness, a certain understanding. Most of it is crap. Most of it is not related to what's really going on, and most of it is focused on a kind of a selfish and overly self-obsessed inner experience. You wouldn't want that to go with you if you were going somewhere. But it would be wrong to say there's no ego effect after death, because that ego experience you're having your whole life, of course it influences you, it has an effect on you. That effect forms how you feel, how you experience, how you interpret things, and in that sense becomes part of you. Not that it can't change, but the influence is there. And if the influence is strong in any certain way, it's highly possible, if not even possibly likely, that influence continues in the after-death state. In that sense, you could say ego is still there, but it's not there as ego, it's there as the influence ego had in how it feels to be you, how you experience being you. Does that make sense when I say that? To where you can
So
grasp.
the impressions are the positive aspects of the things that you've learned and not the attachments?
No, the impressions are just impressions. I mean, this you're talking about the Hindu view.
Mm-hmm.
When they talk about impressions as impressions form tendencies, tendencies form actions, actions result in karma. It's a certain view. And I'm not for or against that view. I'm not for or against any view. But I'm very, very interested in what's for sure true and for sure really happens and is universal, is the same for everybody in any sense. Because, by the way, death is not the same for everybody. It's not the same experience for everybody, just like life is not the same experience. So, first answer, I'm giving you advice now. First answer the fundamental question, because you're I understand why you're interested in this question of ego and whether it goes with and everything you're saying. So you've been reading stuff, you've been trying to understand stuff, you've been listening to stuff, and I'm all for it. But I'm also for being really simple and really basic. And that's a little bit, this is what intelligent people do. They jump ahead, and it's a little bit jumping ahead. I would rather you answer the question I talked about for yourself of where am I in life? Is it basically it's been a good thing or not such a good thing? And the answer, whichever is the answer, makes more of a difference in your eternity, in your future, and what you should do for the rest of your life, with the rest of your life, than this question of ego. I understand why you have the question of ego. It's very smart and it's right, but there's a more basic question that I think it would be more beneficial to you to answer first. And then if there's anything to understand about ego, you're in a better position to know what to do about it. So let me ask you, do you have some basis for knowing for sure that even if it's just trusting somebody else's having said so, who you feel might know, do you have any basis for being confident that when you die, you do continue?
Yeah.
That that's not the end. That's a settled thing for you.
Yeah.
You know it for sure. You know it because you know it from your own knowing, or because you trust somebody else from their knowing,
I don't know.
or both. Your own knowing. Great. Okay. So that's rock solid. Great. So when that's rock solid, then the question of ego, of course, has a bearing. That you're asking it the right way, because it has a bearing on what you're really asking is, how does this ego business affect my eternity? Since I know I'm not going to end when I die, how does it affect after dying? And what I'm saying is the simpler, better thing to determine is, how has life been so far, and what shape am I in so far? First. Do you have a sense? I don't even want you to say what the answer is, but is that something that you have a sense you would answer easily and wouldn't take a lot of pondering, or you'd have to spend some time?
I can easily answer that.
Easily, okay. So you're in great shape.
Well, I mean, it's a negative experience. I mean, so far.
Yeah. Knowing.
I mean,
what puts you in great shape is knowing, is being clear about what it is for you, what the answer is. So you're in great shape. You know that life doesn't end when you die. You don't end when you die. Number one. Most people don't know this. Most people hope it's true or accept it on poor authority. They don't really trust the religion or the person or the book or whatever it is that's telling them that, but they want to believe something. They want to have some... They don't want to think that's the end and I'm no more, because their ego doesn't like that. To think that I'm so important, why I can't end. What will the world do? That's generally the actual thought pattern. So you're in great shape. You know that you continue. So you know that to be only concerned with this life and the experience of this life is very too small a focus. And you know the answer so far to what is the base experience. Because if you want to really be simple, you say, is the base experience good or bad? You can't get more simple than good or bad. You're saying basically bad. So now you've got from this moment forward to change that. With the knowledge that any improvement, any real change that changes it from bad to good, determines what your experience will be like after death. After death, you're not going to another, it's not traveling. You're not going to another place. This isn't a place and then you go to another place. There's just this, and you're having a particular experience of it. When you die, you have another experience of it, because it's all going on at the same, it's all going on. There actually is no time, no space. That's a perspective. That's a way of experiencing. So if you take the eternal infinite view, which is the only reality there is, it's all going on, it's all right here, and this is all there is. And this is all there is a strange statement, because it's everything. It's everything that ever was, it's everything that ever will be. It's every planet, it's every dimension, it is, there's more than just this universe. And it's God for real, and it's truth itself, and it's reality itself. So the more you can plug in, sense the reality of this here. There's only one this, so it doesn't matter where I point. The less you have to concern yourself with, what do I do with this ego business? So even though it's such a valid and intelligent question, I want to table it. I want to save it for later and encourage you instead to take a very simple view, which you're in great shape to do. And that view for you now has to be based on, I know that it doesn't end when I die, and I know that so far it hasn't been what I would choose or want. It hasn't been good, and I would like it to be good. So you start figuring out how you change it to good. And once you have some solid answers, then this question of ego might come up in a practical way where it matters. You're asking it really from a practical concern, but it's only addressable right now philosophically for you. So first you have to start dealing with the fact of the matter, where you're really at. And anything I can do to help you or support you, I'm going to be happy to do, because you really mean it. You're very sincere. You're serious about this. This isn't a game for you. This isn't like, I have to find the right religion or something to believe in. You know for a fact that the stakes are gigantic. They're not just even this lifetime, that this is the biggest stakes, eternity, infinity, and you know that it hasn't worked out like it should have yet, and you still have time to do something about that. And you're serious about doing it. So anybody that's the case, because lots of people aren't serious, they know just as much and whatever, but they're not as serious. So when I see somebody serious, I'm very happy for them, because that means you are capable of it. That means you have a good chance of going in the right direction. Are you confident about that you'll end up in the right direction?
Well, that's my question.
Yeah.
Because it's infinite. Can we really understand it? And
Yes,
just laid out
yes.
goalposts. I'm just trying to make sure those are the correct goalposts.
Absolutely. Because you have a body, because you have a brain and a nervous system, and because you have the abilities you have right now as an alive human being, you absolutely can. because this is the opportunity, because you can move, you can talk, you can walk, you can ask other people, you can read books, you can go study, you can have experiences, you can meditate, you can do all these different things that you can't do without a body. So this is the, literally, funny as it sounds, this is the optimum situation for changing your, this is the only way you're going to change your eternity, is in a living situation.
And that's the point of all this?
The point of all this is it all is the case. So you have no choice, you have to deal with it. And if you start having the experience that it's getting better and better and better, then you'll end up saying that was the point, for it to get this good, for it to get better, because now I really like it. So that'll be enough of a point. You won't ask for, I have to have some ultimate purpose. So I would encourage you to be confident, not false confident. Like, oh, you know, not an attitude. Real, I would encourage you to be confident, because you have more than enough intelligence, because you're serious. You've gotten to the point in life where you see this ain't playing. This is real stuff. And because you're able to commit yourself when you know you have to. So the requirements, you don't have to go out and develop the requirements, the abilities. You already have the abilities. And that's why I'm saying you should be confident. If there were things you needed to learn or do, change yourself somehow, and then you can maybe accomplish whatever the goals turn out to be, then I wouldn't say be confident, because who knows if you'll develop those abilities or not. But the abilities are already there, and the seriousness and the sincerity are already there. And those are the main things. That's why I'm saying when I'm saying be confident, I'm encouraging you, but I'm not encouraging you blindly. Like, I hope it works out. I'm telling you that you have a good chance for it to work out, because what you need, you've already got.
What is it that I want to work out? I mean, what is that? Is it success? Is it?
Well, you have to tell me. I can't tell you what you want.
It's relative.
I can't tell you what you want. You have to get clear on what you want.
Right.
But I certainly see, and I wouldn't even hesitate. That's the kind of ballsy guy I am. I wouldn't hesitate to say it out loud, to say it to you. You definitely want to be a good person.
Yeah.
And that's not a small thing. And a lot of things are going to have to happen for you to end up being able to say, you know what? I am a really good person, for sure. And whatever came before, that's before. So, and that's only one. That's only one thing. I think you want the truth. I think you want the real deal. Some people call it God. Some people call it truth. I don't really care what people call it. I don't know what you call it. But I think you want what is more ultimate, more the real deal. Not just settle for a nice life, a good enough life. Right?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, saying being a good person, if I want to be a good person, I want to help other people. But if we're all one, aren't I just helping myself? Isn't that a redundant sort of a task?
Well, there's such a thing as you're smart, and there's such a thing as you're too smart.
Right.
So don't go there. Don't go there. It doesn't matter. You really want to be a good person. There's some sense in you that you haven't been as good a person as you're capable of. And that's a worthy goal. And you don't want to start philosophizing about it. You want to make it true that you can say, I've really improved myself. I'm a better person than I was. So don't take on everything. And seek the answer to every possible question all at once. Start to do something real first. So you've started from a very real place. I know that when I die, it's not the end, and I know that so far I wouldn't call this life so far a good experience. So if I listen to what this guy's saying, I know that it won't necessarily be such a good experience after death, and I would like it to be. Just like you want this life to be a better experience. So you need to stay more simple, because you go off into the philosophical quickly, and right now you need the practical. We'll save the philosophical for when the practical's done. By that time you'll forget about it. So you have a real job ahead of figuring out what the right goals are and changing yourself in the way you want to be. And that will change your eternity, no question. Okay? Good. Thank you.
A question.
We got a guy online, and then you're right after him. So hold that thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yogi Raj.
You said that to not be concerned with this life, and because the context of
Not be
eternity.
any more concerned than you need to be, which is about 90% less than most people are.
Oh, okay,
Most people are overly concerned. I'm not saying don't care about it at all. I'm saying it doesn't require you to care about it so much as most people do, and to have your whole heart and soul in it all the time the way most people do, trying to make their life better, trying to make it work out, trying to have enough money, trying to have the right friends, trying to have the right experiences. You can't control it the way people think it can be controlled. That's mostly what I'm getting at. But you can have if you don't spend so much time and energy on this little life, you have a way more that you can spend on the eternal part.
Mm-hmm.
You can put your awareness more there and your focus more there. And once you start focusing on it, you start to figure some stuff out about it. Some stuff becomes apparent about it that if you're not focusing on it will never become apparent. That's what spiritual life is. Moving your focus towards the divine, the eternal, the infinite, the bigger, the realer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of, I was a little bit tripped up on if when you die, it's your experience of it and how you take it is the way you lived. Then I was asking, how doesn't that mean you should be concerned with how you live? But I guess you kind of answered.
From the eternal standpoint, not from the worldly standpoint. From the worldly standpoint, then you're getting too much sucked into trivialities and things that don't really matter. It'll be more clear to you what matters if your focus is towards the eternal or towards the divine. It'll be more clear to you what things in this life are really important and you should put more attention on, and what ones you've been putting way too much attention on.
Yeah, a couple of times that happened to me, I felt the attachment to certain things a lot, and that the hard is the dislodging from the attachment.
The perfect example is gym rats. That's the real example for this. That's easy to grasp. I mean, it's all well and good to have a nice body. It's all well and good to be healthy. But there is such a thing, for real. It's become an addiction. There is such a thing as a gym rat. That means somebody who spends like 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day, 7 days a week at the gym. Guess what? That's too much. Life isn't spending 7 hours trying to have a perfect body. That's too much time by any measure. That's a waste of time. Just too many hours. So, I mean, at that point, you're really just in love with being at the gym, and you're missing. But life is bigger than that. You're missing out on too much. It'd be no different than always wanting to, eat ice cream with every meal. It's just too much. There is such a thing as too much. So that's a perfect, easy to understand example of what I'm talking about. We're all gym rats. We all spend too much time and attention on making this lifetime good, making who we are now and how we are now and how life is for us. We don't have to spend this much time and attention. The basics can be covered with about 90% less effort. The basics are, you need a place you need food every day, you need a good enough bed to sleep in, a nice enough house to live in, good enough friends, and you need your family. There's certain basic things that you have to take care of, but you don't have to spend your whole life on them. You need to spend the biggest part of your life on the God part, on the eternity part. And you can't do that if it's all about making the most money you can make and having the most friends you can have and having as much fun as you can have. And, that's being a gym rat. Too many hours at the gym. It's not normal anymore. And we all live like this. We all have too much concern for the temporary, this lifetime, and not enough concern for the permanent, what's beyond this lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these words temporary and permanent I really got it.
Yeah, this is temporary, and the eternal part is permanent. It doesn't begin and it doesn't end. And it's happening right now. You are not sitting in a kitchen in Vancouver as much as you are at 10 o'clock at night or whatever it is right now in Canada. You are much more for real. You are sitting in eternity and right now being in infinity. That's more basic, more real than, I'm not saying there's no space and time. I'm saying eternity and infinity are more real than space and time, matter more. And the more you're aware of it, the more you're aware of the eternal and the infinite, the more you're aware of the real, and the more you're aware of the permanent, what doesn't change, the more you're aware of literally the God part. So, and all there is the God part. But it doesn't seem like it because you're aware of these other things that have too much of your attention. Because you were taught that that's the way to live. That's all. It's not, you haven't done anything wrong or bad. You've just been taught poorly. We all have. We've been taught by people who don't know.
Thank you.
Didn't you tell me you're moving back to LA or something?
I'm not sure.
But they're not staying in Vancouver, right?
Yeah,
Long
I'm still
term.
figuring it out.
Okay.
That's what the next coming months are. That's what I'm doing, working out where to.
Yeah, but don't get seduced by your dad's idea. You know how I feel about London. Don't go to London.
Oh no! That's.
I mean, you said that's off the table. You don't want to live in London, but.
Yeah, no. Now his latest thing is Bali.
Oh, now he wants to live in London.
He told me to suggest you to move there.
Me? Well, if he wants to buy me the ticket.
He did say one wise thing, which was find out where Premodaya is moving, and maybe you can move there.
Oh, we know where I'm not going, London.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere near there.
I lost interest in Bali because I met some Balinese people. Bali always is interesting. It's essentially part of India. But after I met some Balinese people, I kind of lost interest. They were nice enough. There's nothing wrong with them, but they weren't. I didn't get that love connection feeling from them, so kind of lost interest. But you can go to Bali and let me know what you think. Maybe I had a not good enough sampling. You know.
Never been. Nor has my dad.
So the good. The good thing about Bali is for me in Bali I would be considered skinny. You know, they're all huge.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, you must be a gym rat. You don't weigh 350 pounds. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's. I'm very happy to hear that that wording makes a difference, because who knows what people think is meant when you say eternal or even infinite, but all it means is what's temporary versus what's permanent. If it's permanent, if it's eternal, it's permanent. And if it's not eternal, if what's being perceived isn't perceived as eternal, and the easy way to judge, does it come and go? That means it's temporary. If it came, one thing's for sure, it's going to go. Yes, sir.
Hey, Swami. So when you were talking to us earlier, you were saying that to concern ourselves with things of an eternal nature, to don't concern ourselves.
If that wording works for you, yeah.
Okay.
If that way of looking at it works.
That's the way I interpreted it. Well, so you said to concern ourselves with things of an eternal nature, and not too much with things of this world. And then you also said that
not more than you need to.
More than we need to.
World. Yeah.
Okay. So you said that also that our outlook on how life has been so far, like if it's been like, man, I fucked up, then it's not a good thing. So if I'm doing everything I can to change, so what you're saying is I don't really need to focus on so what I'm getting is I don't really need to focus on things of eternal nature in the sense of everyday life. I just need to make sure I do my best every day that I live. Because in a practical way, like it's because I've read all the books and all this ego stuff and all that stuff too,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like applying it to my life. I've thought in times past, I've been in prison most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought of times like, oh, get out, I want to go to a monastery, or should I meditate all day, or should I be of service all day? But then there's the necessary things of the world, and I need to support myself. You know, being a convict
right.
and stuff. It's a little difficult.
Whether you're a convict or not.
Yeah, it is. But what I'm saying, but what I got from you today, it said that and I've read it somewhere before. Well, when I was reading Living with the Himalayan Masters, it said just be cheerful every day. Just be cheerful, like brighten somebody's day. Because he said that at the end of the day, all that matters is the last moment before we die. Like, man, was it good or was it bad? So from what I got out of the whole talk today was that I don't really need to concern myself so much with reading all this spiritual material, meditating every day. It's just doing the best I can every day, and try to make my present experience more pleasant.
So what would be the single most important thing that would meet that criteria?
By being of service by trying to reach out to somebody every day. That's how I feel. Improving.
I'm asking you. I don't have the answer, and I want to compare it to yours. I'm asking you for what's real for you. You know.
For me, is not going back to my old ways and trying to move forward in life every day.
Yes. So, remember, I'm very simple and very practical.
Yes.
So what is the one biggest, most important thing that needs to be right every day for you to meet that goal? And you may not know the answer, in which case I'll say, think about it and get back to me. But I guarantee you that you can identify one thing that is the most important that you know in your, not just your mind, but in your heart too, that this for sure, I can't fuck this up. This one thing has to be consistent every day at least. I have to change myself this way at least. That's kind of the minimum improvement that has to be real. And once you know what that is, you make sure that that happens. Whatever it is, whatever it amounts to. Because it doesn't work well to try to change a whole bunch of things all at once. You're saying, logical things. Well, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to end up back in prison. I don't want to have a crappy life. But you've got to have something that's the anchor, which means you actually owe it to yourself. You really have to identify one or two things that are more important than everything else, that accomplish that you understand with your intelligence and with your heart, with your soul. You understand that there's no way that I can call it self-improvement unless I become this way. So every day I have to move toward that by doing whatever it is. Right now you're saying service, but I'm not so sure that you're sure about what that one thing is, and I'd like you to be able to be sure.
Okay.
So maybe you need to think about it. Maybe you need to start over thinking about it, because I'm sure you've thought about it a lot. But
Yes.
I would like you to be, but I don't think you're crystal clear, and I would like you to get crystal clear on it. Would it be accurate to say you're not crystal clear
Yeah, because
on what it should be?
my mind is over. I sometimes too smart for myself. I read too much, and all
Okay.
these different conceptions and ideas. And
Okay, so you and I will make an agreement, if you're willing, that you are going to take whatever time it takes and whatever thought or whatever you have to do. I don't care if it's 6 months. I don't care if it's 6 days. I don't care if it's 6 minutes. I don't care if you have to think about it all day. I don't care if you have to read 100 books to accomplish it. But the agreement I want to make with you is that you are going to get crystal clear. Crystal clear means 100%. But you're just sure. It's as simple as that. This is the one thing that I must make sure changes in me. It's working backwards. Therefore, I have to do part of it or do an aspect of it or do it every day. There's something you can do every day that is the anchor for everything how you want it to be in the future. And if you don't identify it, then you're too much flying blind. You don't have to fly blind. You have to get very practical. There's a way to get crystal clear. I don't know what it is for you, but but the one thing of how it works for everybody is you have to wait long enough, not just draw a conclusion because you can, so that it's quicker, but have the patience that it really becomes crystal clear, because that happens over time. You decide or determine or identify or discover whatever it is, and then you wait a little bit more to make sure that that's really it. And when you're patient that way, that's how clarity happens, by waiting patiently, thinking about it, dealing with it, whatever you have to do, but also the patience part that, but now it's really clear. Why didn't I see that before? Clarity always comes the same way for everybody. How you get there is different, but what's the same for everybody is the patience part. So that you can actually say, I'm 100% clear on it. That's what I want for you, 100% clear. This is what I have to do every day. This one thing, if I fuck up everything else, this one thing I have to make sure I do right. And I don't think you know what it is yet. And when you do know it, when you've identified it, it's going to make a huge difference, because it's going to give you something to hold on to that's solid, because you can do it every day. You don't have to keep asking so many questions. You don't have to keep wondering about yourself so much. That makes sense?
yeah, I just think I got to get more clear, because
Yes. I want you to get more clear.
for a long.
But I want you to come back and tell me
Okay.
what the result was.
All right.
I'm not saying don't come back until you're clear. You can come anytime you want, but have that as the immediate, as the first goal is to get clear on what's going to help you the most. The one thing you can do on a daily basis that you know you must do, that will, because that's what's going to help you the most. That's what's going to take you the furthest, the fastest.
Okay, I'm not gonna. My mind wants to jump to so many different conclusions and spit out so much different stuff.
That absolutely proves that you need to be patient and
Exactly.
think about it and let it get clear.
So I'm just gonna.
Because it's only one. We want the top one, the most important one. I'm sure most of those your mind is jumping to are good, but we want the top, most effective one.
What's the most important?
The one that has to be, or else you fail. If you don't pull it off, then you failed.
Okay. Okay. So, thank you.
How recent was the incarceration? How long have you been out of prison?
Since August 12th.
Oh, so literally a few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Just getting back.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you found us.
Yeah. Yes.
Good. Pat him down. Manya. Oh, we're out of time. Manya, you get the last word.
Oh, I just, when you had said, you know, you ask yourself now, I ask myself now, if I were to die tomorrow.
Yeah, there's no moment in life you can't make that determination. And
Right.
believe me, you will be making it at some point. If you're have your faculties, and if death comes and you're conscious and awake and you have your faculties, I know what most people's thought process is. So if that's your situation, you're 95% likely to have that thinking process. You'll make the evaluation. It was a good life. It wasn't a good life. It's very simple. You know, you got 30 seconds left to live. It doesn't get complicated. You think simply.
And so when I just played that and I just said, if I were to die tomorrow, and all that comes is I met my guru. Like, that's it.
All right, well, that's nice, but there's a real answer.
No, I don't. Yeah.
There's a real answer in terms of good and bad, in terms of the simplest way to think. And it's good to know what it is. I'm always for the facts, even if they're ugly facts. I don't like falseness. I like what's true, what's factual. If it's hell, I want to know. I want to call it hell. I don't want to call it heaven and pretend it's something else. I like what's real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when I looked at, if I were to, I think this ties into what we were talking about yesterday. It's like all I could say again, if I were to die tomorrow, is
You already said that.
There's been progress. You know, you were just saying. I'm responding to what you just said about is it good or bad? That sort of reaction of is it good or is it bad? And I just, if I were to, again, if I were to die tomorrow and to look at that, all I could say is that there's definitely been progress. And I would, but although I definitely have a sense that there's more yet to go. You know, there's not been that there's more yet to go.
Well, it won't hurt you to know whether it's good or bad. Although different people react different, some people don't like the idea if they decide it hasn't been good, but it certainly won't hurt you, because if it hasn't been good, it hasn't been good. It's already done. It's already, as of from this moment backward, there's nothing to do about it. It's this moment forward that you can do something about. Some people are in really bad shape. That's why I said to our friend here that he's in good shape, because some people are in really bad shape. They actually, it's been bad and they think it's been good. They're deluded. Or it's been good and they think it's been bad. More common is it's been bad and they think it's been good. And then you're in really bad shape, because you don't know up from down. You can't even evaluate the nature of your own life intelligently. If it's been not good and you think it's good, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you're going to do. Your eternity is going to be in the same position. Once you die, you're going to be in the same exact position. You're going to think it's good, and it isn't. And that'll catch up with you sooner or later. So, you can't have your eyes closed forever. Sooner or later, you'll realize it isn't good. And it'll be too much of a shock if you're living in such delusion again and again and again that it's good when it isn't. It doesn't work to fool yourself. It would only work if you could get away with it forever, and you can't. That's why I'm so strong on the idea of I prefer the facts, even if the facts are unpleasant. I'd rather know. So, because it'll catch up with you otherwise. Fooling yourself doesn't work. It always fails in the end. Okay.